Okay, so this column, that is the date, it wasn't part of the form. We wanted to add this. So we need to present you with this column while modifying that form or while viewing that form. So to be able to do that, we run an event function called with add modify row. Okay, so the first thing that we do when you click new, we run the before add row. Okay, if here for some reason you want to prepare, for example, you want to prepare you don't want to leave this empty, you want to prepare this, put a value here, you do it before add row. The same thing here. If you want that date to have the date of today selected, you put it before add row. If you want here to have a select first, for example, you run the select first function on that thing. If you want whatever, if you want some value to be entered in this one here before, you can do it before add row. We said with add modify row, we use it to enhance the form, add more stuff to that form. I gave an example on adding a date in here. Once we are done and we click enter, the system, what does it do before doing this? It will run a validate. The validate depending on the view that you created and what did you put in that view, all the conditions that you put on every column in that view. Once everything passes, okay, if it passes all the validation, it will run the after add modify row, and after it does that, it runs the after add row. Okay? Now this is when we do new, but this is when we do new on an object that is a child, means it's not a parent. Okay? If the object is a parent, we run other stuff, extra stuff. We're not going to talk about it right now. I'm going to talk about an object that is a simple object, has nothing attached to it, means you cannot expand on that object, means it's not a parent, it's a child object. We're talking about a row inside a document. We're talking about an address. The address is a leaf, it's not a, how do you call it, a parent. If we're talking about a project, no, a project is a parent that once we finish, we're going to do some other stuff. Okay? And if we're doing a standard item, also there, we do other stuff. So if it is a parent object, we run other stuff, we'll talk about it later. Okay? But once we're done and we're finished, the row has been inserted to the database and a UID has been generated for that row, and the database told me, hey, everything okay, thank you, you can finish, you can exit. Okay? We do one more stuff that's called after add row done. What does that mean? Okay, I inserted the row, I have a UID, it is in the database. Before I commit, do you want me to do anything else? Look, this, but you tell me, what's wrong, what's the difference between this and this? This before I send it to the database. This is after I send it to the database. Okay? So, after add row, he pressed and add. I want to do some stuff before I then send it to the database. I want to do some extra stuff. Maybe get the UID of this place and put it in this deck, or back, whatever I want to do. Okay? change some stuff, make sure that some stuff exists before I do that. Okay? But let's say I'm done, that row is done, I'm happy with it, go to the database. He went to the database. If that thing went to the database and the database told me, hey, everything okay, I inserted the row, now I have a UID, now I run after add row done. Why do I need it? Because maybe you need that UID that was inserted to write it in some other place, or maybe you need to send an email to somebody, or maybe you need to write a history record, or maybe you want to link it with other stuff, or maybe you want to copy some other stuff. I don't care. You can't copy, you need to copy the memo from a standard memo and come and print it, put it here. How do you do that? If you don't have a UID, you can't do that. So you have to wait till after add row, till this after add row done, and run this function. So this is, you see how the kernel works with you. If you know how the kernel is working, you know where to interfere. You have to know where to interfere. Okay? Guess what? Anything that you do here before this, before the after add row done, any updates that you're doing, you're updating some things in memory. And once the server takes that row, once Prosper takes that row and inserts it in the database, he does the insert for you. Okay? But let's say you did something here and you modified that date that was entered by the user to some other date. Anything that you do here, you're only working in memory. You're not committing your work to the database. You have to make sure that if you did any update here, you yourself must run an SQL update after that to make sure that this update that you do will be committed to the database. So this is where the SQL update happens, right? This is where the server does the SQL update. This is where the server here does that's what we do, the verify. That's where he does the update. This is where the server, at the beginning here, he does a 0, what we call it a 0. He will prepare an empty column. He will zero every column in that in this table. He will zero it. He does that here where we do the validate, and here where we do the update to the database. So if everything that you do here, it's okay because the update will take it and write it to the database. But if you do something in the after add row done, you have to do the update yourself. And there is a function called SQL update that you have to run to update anything that you do. Thank you.